Deep within the heart of the Amazon, beneath a canopy that has swallowed centuries of history, secrets wait patiently, hidden, untouched, almost forgotten. What if everything we thought we knew about this vast wilderness was only scratching the surface? The Amazon rainforest, the world's largest tropical jungle, stretches over 6.7 million square kilometers. To the untrained eye, it is an endless expanse of green, rivers weaving like veins, and the occasional glimmer of sunlight piercing through the thick canopy. But scientists, historians, and explorers have long whispered about what lies beneath, the evidence of civilizations that may have thrived long before European contact, civilizations that left no cities, no monuments, yet whose imprint is etched subtly in the land itself. For centuries, tales of lost cities have fascinated adventurers. From Francisco de Orellana's 1541 expedition, claiming to have seen cities of gold along the Amazon's rivers, to 20th century satellite images revealing geometric earthworks, there is mounting evidence that the Amazon was not the untouched wilderness many once imagined. What if the forest wasn't just a barrier to human settlement, but a home to sophisticated cultures whose stories were erased by time? In 2019, a team of archaeologists equipped with LiDAR technology, a laser mapping system capable of penetrating dense forest, made a discovery that shook the scientific community. They unveiled the outlines of ancient settlements, complete with roads, plazas, and defensive structures. These were not small tribal camps. This was evidence of complex urban planning. And the implications were staggering. The Amazon could have supported hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people before European arrival. But the forest holds more than just stone and soil. It guards stories, whispers of rituals, mysteries of vanished cultures. To uncover them, we must navigate rivers teeming with life and danger, and decode the cryptic signs left on the land itself. These geoglyphs, massive geometric shapes carved into the earth, first caught the attention of archaeologists in the late 19th century. Circular and rectangular patterns, sometimes spanning hundreds of meters, hinted at ceremonial purposes. They could only have been created by organized societies, contradicting the long-held belief that the Amazon's poor soils could never sustain large populations. The forest, it turns out, may have been carefully managed by humans, not untouched. Yet, despite these revelations, much remains unknown. The dense vegetation has hidden countless secrets for centuries, and for every discovery, there are thousands more waiting, invisible beneath the emerald canopy. And this is where our journey begins, a descent into the green abyss, where every rustle of leaves, every meandering river could conceal history itself. Our first stop is the Xingu region, an area that has yielded some of the most compelling evidence of pre-Columbian societies. The Xingu was once home to a network of settlements connected by straight roads, circular plazas, and defensive earthworks. Radiocarbon dating suggests that some structures were in use as early as 1200 CE. Here, in a forest that seems eternal, humans built, lived, and thrived. But the Xingu story is not just in stone. The forest's biodiversity hints at human cultivation. Scientists have discovered patches of terra preta, a dark, fertile soil enriched by humans over centuries, capable of sustaining crops. This Amazonian dark earth is a fingerprint of civilization, a deliberate, intelligent manipulation of the environment designed to sustain life in a place long thought incapable of supporting large populations. The more we uncover, the narrator intones, the more the line between myth and reality blurs. For every clearing we map, every artifact we unearth, the Amazon whispers its secrets, daring us to follow. Travelers in the region recount strange phenomena: towering mounds hidden in dense forest, rivers that split and recombine with uncanny regularity, and legends passed down through indigenous communities of great cities swallowed by the jungle. Some call it exaggeration. Others insist it is memory, a cultural echo of civilizations too advanced to survive contact with European colonizers. Yet even in modern times, mysteries abound. Satellite imagery occasionally reveals shapes impossible to explain: geometric patterns, vast circles, straight lines cutting through the forest as if drawn with purpose. How were these accomplished without metal tools? What rituals, social structures, and technologies were lost? And perhaps most compelling, why does so little remain above ground? The journey into the Amazon is not for the faint of heart. Monsoon rains can swell rivers overnight, turning gentle streams into raging torrents. Predators, both human and animal, lurk. Diseases like malaria and yellow fever have claimed lives of even seasoned explorers. Yet driven by curiosity and the allure of forgotten history, teams of scientists, historians, and local guides continue their perilous search. Our expedition follows in their footsteps. We will navigate winding rivers, penetrate forests so dense that sunlight barely touches the ground, and examine earthworks and artifacts with tools that would have seemed like sorcery to the people who first crafted them. Every discovery holds a clue, a hint of who lived here, how they survived, and why their stories faded from memory. But be warned, the voiceover whispers, the Amazon does not give up its secrets easily. Every path leads to another question, every artifact to a deeper mystery. To uncover the hidden histories of this jungle is to confront the limits of knowledge, and perhaps the shadow of human ambition itself. And as night falls, the forest transforms. Strange calls echo through the canopy, and the river shimmers under a moon obscured by mist. In the silence, one cannot help but feel the weight of time, the centuries of lives, of cultures, of civilizations that once pulsed here, now almost erased, waiting for someone to listen. The first chapter of our journey closes on a question. Are we ready to uncover a history the world never knew existed? Or will the jungle, as it has for centuries, keep its secrets a little longer? For centuries, the Amazon has been called the world's last frontier, a place where the map ends and imagination begins. But what if the stories of lost cities, whispered by explorers and indigenous elders alike, were not just legend? What if they were the remains of thriving civilizations, hidden for generations beneath the endless green? The concept of lost cities in the Amazon has tantalized explorers and scientists for hundreds of years. In the 16th century, Francisco de Orellana, a Spanish conquistador, navigated the Amazon River and reported sightings of densely populated settlements along its banks. His claims were met with skepticism. European scholars dismissed them as exaggeration, imagining that no forest could sustain large populations. Yet Orellana's writings were remarkably consistent, describing organized towns, cultivated fields, and people living in sophisticated communities. Fast forward to the 21st century, and evidence is beginning to vindicate these early observations. Advanced technologies like LiDAR, light detection and ranging, allow archaeologists to see through the dense foliage, revealing the contours of massive earthworks, straight roads, and circular plazas that were previously invisible. In some regions, entire networks of settlements have been identified, suggesting that pre-Columbian Amazonia may have been home to cities comparable in size to medieval European towns. One of the most striking examples comes from the Upper Singu region. Here, archaeologists uncovered a series of interconnected settlements, linked by wide, straight roads cutting through the forest. At the center of each village, circular plazas hosted communal activities, marketplaces, and ceremonial spaces. Defensive ditches and embankments suggest that these communities faced conflicts, yet were capable of sophisticated urban planning.
Radiocarbon dating indicates these sites were active from roughly 1200 to 1600 CE, a time when Europe was awakening from the Middle Ages. The evidence challenges everything we thought we knew about human habitation in the Amazon. These were not small, nomadic bands eking out survival. They were complex societies capable of shaping the landscape, managing resources, and building communities that could sustain thousands. The discovery of terra preta, the fertile black soil, adds further intrigue. Unlike the surrounding acidic rainforest soil, terra preta is nutrient-rich and can remain fertile for centuries. Studies suggest that ancient Amazonians deliberately created it, combining charcoal, compost, and organic matter. In essence, they engineered the environment to feed large populations, an early example of sustainable agriculture. It's a testament to their ingenuity, yet it raises a haunting question. Why did these civilizations vanish? Explorers often report eerie patterns emerging from the forest floor, massive geometric shapes, circles, squares, and lines visible from above. Known as geoglyphs, they have puzzled scientists since their first discovery in the 1970s. Each geoglyph is a deliberate creation, some spanning over 300 meters in diameter, requiring careful planning and labor to construct. Some researchers hypothesize they were ceremonial centers, marking sacred spaces or astronomical alignments, but the true purpose remains a mystery. Were these the signature of entire kingdoms now lost to time? As we trace these ancient paths, the narrator whispers, we begin to sense a civilization that thrived, flourished, and then disappeared, leaving only shadows in the soil, the shape of the earth, and stories carried by the wind through centuries. In 2018, satellite imagery revealed an astonishing find in northern Brazil. An unrecorded network of settlements, connected by straight causeways cutting through dense forest, suggested a population that may have numbered in the hundreds of thousands. This discovery forced a radical reevaluation of Amazonian history. The idea that the rainforest was a pristine wilderness before European contact was simply false. Human hands had shaped, cultivated, and structured the land. Yet understanding these civilizations is fraught with challenges. The forest conceals its secrets aggressively. Heavy rainfall erodes earthen structures, and the constant growth of vegetation obscures traces of past settlements. Looting and deforestation threaten to erase what remains. Archaeologists race against time, using cutting-edge technology to map what little survives. And still, every excavation uncovers more questions than answers. Indigenous communities, who have lived in the Amazon for millennia, often serve as custodians of this hidden history. Oral traditions recount tales of great cities, lost kingdoms, and vast populations swallowed by the jungle. These narratives, passed through generations, align uncannily with archaeological findings. They hint at cultural continuity, an unbroken connection between the people who live here now and those who came before. Some say the forest is alive, listening, remembering, holding its secrets close. For outsiders, it is a challenge. For those who belong, it is home, and history flows through every river, every clearing, every whisper of leaves. The Munduruku people, inhabiting the Tapajos region, have legends of grand cities along the riverbanks, with walls and roads that rival European towns of the same period. They speak of ancestors who were farmers, hunters, and warriors, their communities interconnected across vast distances. Archaeologists have discovered earthworks near Munduruku villages that seem to validate these stories, suggesting that oral traditions may preserve fragments of history invisible to written records. But the Amazon's mysteries are not confined to earthworks. Artifacts, often fragmentary, tell stories of trade, ritual, and daily life. Pottery shards reveal intricate designs, some depicting scenes of hunting, fishing, or ceremonies. Stone tools hint at sophisticated techniques, and ceremonial objects, amulets, figurines, and beads, suggest complex belief systems. Each fragment, buried under centuries of soil and vegetation, is a window into lives long vanished. And yet, for every artifact uncovered, the voiceover continues, the forest seems to respond with another puzzle, a geoglyph just beyond the river bend, a mound where no settlement should exist, a pattern in the trees that aligns with the stars. History in the Amazon is alive, shifting, teasing us to look closer, to question everything. The disappearance of these civilizations remains a mystery. Some scholars speculate that climate change, disease, or warfare contributed to their decline. Others propose that European contact, though delayed in the interior, brought epidemics that devastated populations already weakened by environmental pressures. And yet, some regions remain largely untouched, hidden under layers of forest and mystery. Explorers recount the strange feeling of walking through the jungle, the sense of being watched, as if the forest itself is conscious of intruders. Ruins appear almost suddenly, linear mounds, circular plazas, and remnants of roads cutting through dense vegetation. It is both exhilarating and eerie. Each discovery feels like a conversation with the past, a challenge to understand lives that thrived here centuries ago. The Amazon does not reveal its secrets lightly, the narrator warns, and as we trace the paths of those who came before, we must remember, the forest is patient, and history is a careful teacher. Each new discovery is a clue, a piece of a puzzle spanning millennia, and every answer leads to another question. By the end of this chapter, it becomes clear that the Amazon is more than a wilderness. It is a vast repository of human ingenuity and survival. Its secrets are etched into the land itself, from the soil to the rivers, waiting for those willing to look beyond the obvious. And as night falls, the rainforest hums with life, a reminder that history is not just in books. It lives, breathes, and watches in the shadows. The lost cities of the Amazon, the narrator concludes, are not gone. They are merely hidden, waiting for us to uncover their stories, one secret at a time.
In the depths of the Amazon, history is not written in ink or stone alone. It is written in the patterns of the earth, the flow of the rivers, and the whispers of the wind. And nowhere is this more evident than in the rituals of the civilizations that once thrived here. Rituals that bound communities, shaped landscapes, and connected humans to the cosmos. Archaeologists have long been fascinated by the ceremonial centers scattered across the Amazon. Circular plazas, massive geoglyphs, and raised mounds suggest not just practical settlements, but spaces designed for community gatherings, spiritual observances, and cultural cohesion. Unlike the grand temples of Europe or Mesopotamia, these spaces are subtle, hidden within the forest, their power and purpose evident only to those who know how to read the landscape. One of the most intriguing finds comes from the Upper Xingu region, where archaeologists mapped interconnected villages forming what some call a civilization network. At the center of each village, circular plazas appear to have been used for rituals, games, and ceremonies that united the community. These plazas, often flanked by ceremonial roads, were more than functional. They were symbolic, representing order, hierarchy, and cosmology. We are beginning to understand, the voiceover intones, that these people were not merely surviving, they were thriving. Their culture was sophisticated, deeply spiritual, and harmonized with the environment. Every mound, every pathway, every clearing tells a story. The geoglyphs provide another layer of mystery. Massive circles, squares, and star-like patterns etched into the soil may have served astronomical or ritualistic purposes. Some align with the solstices or with prominent celestial events.
Scholars hypothesize that these patterns were part of a calendar system, or a means to track seasonal cycles critical to agriculture. Others suggest they may have been sacred spaces, drawing communities together for festivals or rites of passage. Artifacts discovered near these ceremonial centers support this theory. Clay figurines depict dancers, hunters, and shamans, suggesting a society rich in performance, symbolism, and spiritual leadership. Elaborate pottery designs may have told stories, recorded history, or conveyed sacred knowledge. Stone tools and ceremonial objects, beads, amulets, and carved figures, indicate a culture that valued both utility and artistry. Imagine standing in one of these plazas, the forest alive with the sounds of drums, chants, and laughter, the river glinting in the sunlight, the people moving in patterns handed down for generations. It is a rhythm of life almost lost, waiting for us to hear it again. Even the forest itself seems to have been part of the ritual landscape. Ancient communities manipulated rivers, cleared patches of forest, and cultivated certain plants, creating an environment that supported both agriculture and ceremonial activity. The creation of terra preta, fertile dark earth, was likely intertwined with these practices. By enhancing the soil, they could sustain both food production and ceremonial gardens, ensuring that the physical and spiritual needs of the community were met. Some of the most compelling evidence comes from recent LiDAR surveys, which reveal pathways connecting ceremonial plazas to nearby settlements. These roads, often straight and precise, suggest coordination across multiple villages. Communities were not isolated, they were linked in a network, sharing resources, knowledge, and possibly religious practices. This challenges the old notion that the Amazon was sparsely populated and culturally fragmented. And yet, despite this sophistication, much of their knowledge remains shrouded in mystery. The forest reclaimed what humans built, hiding the intricacies of daily life and ritual. Only fragments remain: pottery shards, stone tools, and faint traces of ceremonial spaces, and each fragment leaves us with more questions than answers. Indigenous oral traditions illuminate these mysteries further. Many Amazonian tribes recount stories of ancestors performing elaborate rituals to honor the rivers, forests, and sky. Some speak of gatherings in circular plazas, dances timed with the moon, and ceremonies that ensured harmony with the environment. These narratives resonate with archaeological findings, suggesting continuity of cultural memory across centuries. The rivers themselves were sacred, serving as arteries of life and ritual. Canoes transported not just goods, but people participating in ceremonies, connecting communities along the waterways. Seasonal flooding may have been integrated into rituals, symbolizing renewal and fertility. The very land and water were interwoven with spirituality, a perspective foreign to outsiders who once saw the Amazon as untamed and chaotic. To walk these lands today is to walk in the footsteps of countless generations. Each river bend, each mound, each clearing pulses with memory. And if we listen carefully, we can almost hear the echoes of drums and chants that once defined the rhythm of life here. But there are still deeper mysteries. Some geoglyphs form complex patterns visible only from above, raising questions about the cognitive and logistical capacities of these societies. How did they coordinate such constructions without modern tools? What knowledge of mathematics, astronomy, or social organization did they possess? These questions hint at civilizations far more advanced than previously imagined, societies that may have rivaled contemporaneous cultures in distant continents. The disappearance of these civilizations
adds a haunting tension to their study. Environmental changes, disease, social upheaval, and European contact may all have contributed to their decline. Yet, unlike the monumental ruins of Europe or Asia, much of their infrastructure was reclaimed by the forest. Today, these mysteries challenge archaeologists and explorers to reconstruct history from shadows, traces in the soil, faint outlines of plazas, and stories passed down through generations. And so we journey onward. Each artifact, each clearing, each mound is a key, a fragment of a story that demands to be pieced together. The Amazon is a living archive, waiting for those who dare to uncover its secrets, to listen to its whispers, and to follow the rhythm of civilizations that once thrived where only the forest now reigns. By the end of this chapter, it becomes clear that the Amazonian civilizations were deeply interconnected with their environment, their rituals, and one another. Their story is not only about survival, it is about ingenuity, spirituality, and a sophisticated relationship with nature. And yet their disappearance leaves an unsettling question. What forces erased these civilizations, and what else remains hidden, waiting to be discovered? The forest guards its secrets well, but every step, every discovery, brings us closer to understanding the pulse of a civilization long thought lost. The Amazon is a story that has only just begun. Beneath the endless green of the Amazon, hidden from casual eyes, lies evidence of human ingenuity. Beneath the endless green of the Amazon, hidden from casual eyes, lies evidence of human ingenuity that rivals the greatest civilizations of the ancient world. Not grand palaces or towering monuments, but roads, bridges, and networks connecting communities across vast distances, a silent testament to societies that thrived long before Europeans arrived. For decades, the Amazon was imagined as a wilderness too hostile to sustain large populations. Early explorers described it as a green sea, dense and impenetrable, where survival itself seemed miraculous. Yet recent discoveries challenge this notion entirely. LiDAR technology, capable of peering through dense canopy, has revealed an astonishing truth. Ancient Amazonian civilizations built roads stretching for tens of kilometers, connecting settlements, ceremonial centers, and agricultural hubs. These were not mere footpaths. They were engineered networks, carefully planned and maintained. To walk in the footsteps of these ancient builders is to confront a civilization of unexpected sophistication, the voiceover narrates. These were societies capable of organizing labor, managing resources, and engineering infrastructure that integrated seamlessly with the rainforest. In the Upper Xingu and Tapajos regions, archaeologists have mapped straight roads cutting through forest, linking villages with precision. In some cases, causeways are elevated to prevent seasonal flooding. Surrounding these roads are defensive ditches, indicating strategic planning, and occasionally ceremonial mounds, suggesting that travel itself may have had social or spiritual significance. This integration of functionality and ritual mirrors the sophistication of civilizations elsewhere, such as in Mesoamerica. What is remarkable, the narrator continues, is not just the scale of these roads, but their purpose. They were arteries of communication, trade, and social cohesion, allowing communities separated by miles of forest to remain connected. It is a network built for survival and civilization alike. Trade appears to have been a cornerstone of Amazonian society. Artifacts discovered along these roads hint at the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultural practices. Polished stone axes, Exotic shells, pottery styles, and ornamental beads traveled long distances, linking villages hundreds of kilometers apart. This was not random. It was a deliberate system fostering economic and social stability. The more we uncover, the clearer it becomes, the voiceover whispers, that the Amazon was not isolated or primitive. It was a living network of communities, interacting and thriving, a civilization built into the forest itself. Some roads align with river systems, suggesting an integrated network of land and water transportation. Canoes could navigate rivers, while footpaths and causeways bridged forested areas inaccessible by water. This dual system maximized connectivity, ensuring that food, resources, and ceremonial knowledge could flow efficiently. Scholars now estimate that hundreds of thousands of people may have inhabited regions previously thought sparsely populated. Even the forest itself appears to have been managed deliberately. Ancient peoples created agroforestry systems, planting useful species along roadsides and near settlements, cultivating edible plants, and shaping the environment to support both agriculture and travel. The combination of engineered soil, roads, and waterways paints a picture of societies deeply attuned to their surroundings, a sophisticated symbiosis with the rainforest. And yet, despite these discoveries, much remains hidden, the narrator cautions. For every road we uncover, there are countless others swallowed by centuries of growth, invisible to all but the most sensitive instruments. Evidence of urban planning emerges from the layout of settlements connected by these roads. Villages are arranged around plazas and ceremonial centers, with residential areas organized systematically. Defensive earthworks suggest organized responses to conflict, while the presence of storage pits indicates careful planning for food security. In other words, these were not haphazard communities. They were carefully engineered societies. The sophistication is staggering, the voiceover continues. It challenges our assumptions, forcing us to rethink what we believed possible in this environment. Civilization in the Amazon was not a fragile anomaly. It was deliberate, enduring, and complex. Yet mysteries remain. Some roads disappear abruptly into dense forest, as if leading nowhere. Others seem to terminate at ceremonial mounds, raising questions about their purpose. Were they purely functional, or did they serve ritualistic or symbolic roles? Archaeologists are beginning to realize that these networks may have had layers of meaning, combining utility with social and spiritual significance. Satellite imagery sometimes reveal patterns that are almost impossible to interpret. Geometric shapes intersecting with roads, plazas at unexpected junctions, or alignments with astronomical events. These discoveries hint at astronomical knowledge and cultural sophistication, encoded not in books, but in the very layout of the landscape. For the modern explorer, it is both exhilarating and disorienting. The forest guards its past jealously. Each road is a story, each mound a chapter, each river a living memory. And as we trace these networks, we are reminded that civilizations rise and fall not only in cities and monuments, but in the subtle, enduring imprints left on the earth. The scale of these networks also raises profound questions about population density and social organization. Previous models, which assumed small, scattered groups of hunter-gatherers, are increasingly untenable. Instead, researchers are now considering that the Amazon may have supported densely populated, highly organized societies capable of sustaining large populations for centuries. And yet, for all their ingenuity, these civilizations vanished, the voiceover intones, leaving only whispers in the forest and hints in the soil. Disease, environmental change, and European contact may have played a role, but the forest itself became the ultimate archivist, preserving some secrets while hiding others forever. The discovery of these networks fundamentally alters our understanding of pre-Columbian Amazonia. No longer a primeval wilderness, the rainforest was an arena of human creativity, adaptation, and engineering. Roads, plazas, and waterways were more than functional. They were expressions of culture, community, and cosmology. As we stand at the edge of a clearing, looking down a straight road that has endured centuries of rain and growth, we see more than a path. We see the heartbeat of civilizations that refused to be forgotten, the silent testimony of human ingenuity, and the promise of stories still waiting to be uncovered. By the end of this chapter, the viewer understands that the Amazonian civilizations were not only sophisticated in culture and ritual, but also masterful engineers and organizers, leaving behind networks that rivaled the road systems of more famous ancient civilizations. The forest holds the key to understanding their scope, ingenuity, and enduring legacy. The roads of the lost kingdoms, the narrator whispers, are guides, not just through the jungle, but through time itself. And as we follow them, we step ever closer to the full story of a civilization long hidden, waiting to reveal its secrets.